Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, for those thought-provoking remarks, reminding us that we need to also embrace Pan-Africanism in order to address the challenges of internal displacement on our continent. And which also reminds me that the Commissioner, when she opened the forum, also highlighted that the problem of forced displacement is now compounded by the fact that most of our conflicts on the continent are within countries. It's not like in the past during the Cold War and apartheid, when the conflicts were largely interstate. So the Commissioner reminded us of that. So I think it builds on what the Minister was saying, that now the problem is more compounded and displacement is much more enormous in scale and impact. So I think we need to take that to heart. Now, the Kampala Convention we're celebrating today is this document, and I think it's been we can get copies at the back as we by the entrance. I think the copies will be availed easily for us to have a look at this important historical milestone. We will move ahead, Excellencies. The opening remarks by the Honourable Minister will be followed by the high-level panel on the Kampala Convention, and this will be moderated by Josephine Karungi, Head of News NTV Uganda, which I'm happy to invite to come up to the stage to facilitate this session. And the panelists will be Her Excellency Ambassador Minata Samate-Sisoma, our Commissioner, and Professor Chaloke Beyani. Professor Chaloke Beyani is the former UN Special Rapporteur on the human rights of UNDP, of IDPs, and now the member of the Expert Advisory Group to the high-level panel on internal displacement. And we'll also have Mr. Gerald Menya, the Commissioner for Refugees, and also Tek Nial, the IDP representative. My sister, you take it over. Great. So over to you. So I'll hand over to Josephine. Yes.
Honorable delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I hope the weather, the cold, the rain has not made us all cold as well, that we cannot return a greeting. So I'll try again. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful. Thank you very much. My name is Josephine Karungi. I am a journalist and also the head of news at NTV Uganda, and I'll be moderating this panel. It's a 1-hour panel, so we are going to get right into it. I think I'll start by introducing the panel once again, and I'll start at the very end. At the very end is Mr. Tek Nial, who is an IDP representative. Thank you for joining us, Tek. And right next to him is Professor Chaloke Beyani, who is the former UN Special Rapporteur on the human rights of IDPs and a member of the Expert Advisory Group to the high-level panel on internal displacement. Right next to him is Her Excellency Minata Samate, who is the Commissioner for Political Affairs. And right next to me is Mr. Gerald Menya, who is the Commissioner for Refugees in the Office of the Prime Minister here in Uganda. And I'll start our conversation with Mr. Tek Nial, who is the IDP representative. I would like him to set the stage for us and just paint a picture of an IDP, of what it is like for him and what this convention means for people like him.
First, I'd like to say Thank you very much for bringing me on board in this panel. As you've heard, I'm Tek Nial, representative of IDPs from South Sudan. I'm privileged to be here on this high-level dialogue that I have not expected that I would be in, and thank to Africa Union, UNHCR for even recommending me for invitation to this, where I could meet my leaders, who are my fathers and my mothers, and also my brothers, that in Africa culture or tradition, you're not sometime involved in discussion where big people are in, but I could see also a change of dimension these few years that youths are invited on board. And I would say to the all member state that you have achieved a lot, even if others or maybe yourself are saying that you are not doing something. Let me congratulate you that you have progressed a lot in the change in Africa, and thank you very much. To come to the discussion, as I have told you the history that I have in my life from 1 month old being displaced and is still being displaced until the time I'm talking to you today. I'm an IDP from South Sudan and in POC. In our life in POC, let me cut it to what is happening now in connection to the Kampala Convention. It is written, and you have signed it and rectified, and which South Sudan is the member of this ratification, but the implementation on the ground is not there. Let me talk on protection of civilians. We are in POC side, which is in protection of civilian side. The one was adopted by UN when there was crisis in South Sudan and civilians were being killed, and UN intervened for protection of civilian, and which was regarded as operational error from our African brothers from Rwanda, but it was done deliberately and it's the right decision to be done. But we remain in the POC, including what you have signed and what the document you have produced. When you go out of the POC, you are still having risk, and which is the prime objective would be your protection by the state you are in. That's one thing. The other thing is on the deliberation of the service, the deliverable service to the IDPs. Humanitarians in South Sudan are giving us food in which they don't involve us in the discussion that lead to decision making on our behalf. And how would you decide about person while they are not there? How would you know how they are suffering? You have the funding, yes, you have the aid, but you're not one to decide alone because you don't know what are the priorities for that person that they mostly need. You might propose something that this one might be the need for them, but you need to involve them on board to participate. Like food is being given in South Sudan to the IDPs, but there are no things to prepare us to cook it. Like take from the kitchen utensils, take from the firewoods and charcoal. It posed our women a challenge because in the POC, the core of man is checked. Because you're in the POC, you cannot provide for your children. We are taught to be providers as men. But you cannot provide for your children. You cannot provide for your woman. And you're there, you're just thinking to abandon your family and you move somewhere else because you have nothing to do. And your core as a man is attacked. So what can you do? Women are the only one subjecting their life, going to the bushes, a far distance of 4 to 6 kilometers to collect firewood. There they encounter sexual violence, rapes, abduction, and many of them end up being killed by unknown people. And if we say we're talking of Kampala Convention today, it's a very rich document. When I read it, in these few days I'm in Kampala, and it talks a lot about us. But why is it not implemented on the ground in South Sudan by the humanitarian and the UN mission in South Sudan? It's my question to the panel also and also to the member state. There's a need for the Kampala Convention to be implemented in its words and spirit in South Sudan, and there's a need to give us protection and the services in South Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tek. If I hear you correctly, there's a need for implementation, but also you're calling for participation of the people that are being provided things that they don't even need because nobody has assessed the actual needs that they have. All right, so you posed a question, and I'd like to invite Commissioner Minata to respond to you.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la modératrice. Je voudrais, avant de répondre, il a dit quelque chose, l'intervenant a un fils. Avant de lui répondre, saluer la présence avec nous de notre frère, le ministre. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le ministre, pour votre discours, pour votre présence et surtout pour l'exemple que votre pays, l'Ouganda, donne aux autres pays du continent africain, pas uniquement au niveau de l'Afrique, mais également au monde entier. Je voudrais aussi ce matin saluer les autres membres du gouvernement, les ambassadeurs et tous les participants. Vous avez vraiment parfaitement raison. Nous nous posons la question pourquoi une convention aussi importante n'est pas même signée. Il y a des pays qui n'ont même pas encore signé ou ratifié. La convention est certes en vigueur, mais il y a quand même un problème. Pourquoi l'Union africaine à elle seule ne peut pas répondre à cette question? Je suis contente, les États membres sont dans cette salle. Je connais le nombre de ceux qui ont ratifié, de ceux qui ont signé et ceux qui ne l'ont pas fait. Certains sont dans la salle. Je profite de votre micro pour lancer un appel aux États membres parce que la ratification n'est pas de la responsabilité de la Commission de l'Union africaine. Ça, c'est une balle que je prends et je retourne aux États membres. Il faut que les États membres s'engagent beaucoup plus. La Convention est un document unique qui peut nous aider à résoudre les problèmes du déplacement forcé sur le continent. Mais pourquoi nous traînons le pas? Il y en a qui vous disent non, ce sont des procédures internes. Et j'ai été personnellement choqué lorsque des États membres vous disent je n'ai aucun intérêt. Pourquoi? Est-ce que vous ne pouvez pas aider votre prochain? Et ça n'arrive pas qu'aux autres, ces personnes qui se déplacent. Lorsque j'écoute notre fils, c'est émouvant. Il n'a pas demandé ça, il a besoin de passer à autre chose, mais il se retrouve dans un camp de réfugiés. L'Union africaine fait sa part de travail, ce que nous pouvons faire, et on ne cessera de le dire, nous n'avons pas de moyens pour forcer un État membre à ratifier un document. Il y en a, c'est au niveau des parlements, il y en a, c'est le président, et ainsi de suite. Les procédures de ratification varient d'un pays à un autre. Nous sensibilisons, nous travaillons, nous engageons les personnalités, mais vous ne pouvez pas obliger quelqu'un à faire partie d'un document juridique. En tout cas, moi j'aime bien cette question, c'est l'occasion de dire aux États membres, s'il vous plaît, ratifiez cette convention. Ce qui est arrivé à certains pays ne l'ont pas demandé. On voit actuellement des pays qui se retrouvent dans cette situation avec beaucoup de personnes déplacées. Et c'est la base minimale pour nous permettre d'aider notre prochain, comme le fait l'Ouganda. Je voudrais aussi répondre à une question. Pourquoi on n'implique pas les réfugiés eux-mêmes? Et je suis entièrement d'accord avec vous lorsque vous dites parfois la nourriture est inadaptée. C'est vrai, c'est une réalité. On va travailler avec, je remercie les agences humanitaires qui sont avec nous, nous travaillons avec eux. Ces agences sont là, les associations de société civile, les ONG sont là pour voir comment on peut corriger cette situation et donner ce qu'il faut. Mais je peux vous assurer, la situation parfois n'est pas facile. Parce que, les États membres ne paient pas suffisamment, les agences travaillent avec leurs propres moyens et parfois collectent de la nourriture inadaptée. On n'a pas le choix que de servir ce genre de nourriture. Impliquer les réfugiés eux-mêmes dans ce travail, je suis entièrement d'accord avec vous, nous prenons note et nous allons partager avec les autres. Je suis contente, je disais tout de suite à mon frère Chanda que je me suis retrouvée dans mon propre pays, avec des personnes déplacées, nous sommes aujourd'hui à 1,5 million. Et les femmes ont dit, vous avez parlé des ustensiles, mais les femmes sont encore beaucoup plus exposées. Les femmes vous diront, moi je n'ai que ce tissu, que faire en tant que femme? On a des besoins. Il y en a qui disent de ne pas oublier les hommes. Est-ce que les hommes ont besoin de ce matériel, de ce minimum pour leur dignité? Les femmes n'ont même pas cela. Et c'est quelque chose d'important, mais je prends l'engagement à la fin de cette année, en février, de rendre compte, et je compte sur le soutien des ambassadeurs qui sont avec moi pour avoir plus de ratification et surtout mettre en œuvre effectivement la convention de Kampala. Mais c'est une œuvre commune, nous devons tous travailler ensemble pour trouver la solution.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask for some help with this. It's on and off, so as we continue our conversation, I'd appreciate if somebody, I don't know if yours was working well enough. We've had a lot of success stories, so I heard a bit of what you said, but it kept going off. We've had a lot of the success story of what Uganda is like in regard to the treatment of refugees and IDPs. Not a lot on IDPs, so I'd like you to put that in context for us, Commissioner.
Thank you very much, moderator, and my colleagues, panelists. In a very special way, I want to thank the Honorable Minister for joining us and for creating time to join us. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said the other days, Uganda has had a long history in terms of hosting refugees. It's now coming to 8 years. By next year, it will be about 8 years of hosting refugees. And they are from a number of nationalities, about 31 of them. And the most interesting aspect, as far as hosting these refugees is concerned by Uganda, is that we treat them as human beings. We treat them as human beings, and that is our motto, that refugees are our brothers, refugees are our sisters. And the appeal from Uganda is that all member states of Africa should treat and look at refugees as brothers and sisters, because it's like being an impaired person. We are potential candidates for being impaired in terms of speech, impaired in terms of physical sight, hearing, to mention but a few. So we are all potential, candidates of being internally or externally or internationally displaced. And for that reason, it is a question of probably of how do you treat them. How do you treat them? We receive them as human beings. We offer them all the necessary documentation that will enable them to stay in safety and dignity in the country. We screen them, we register them, we settle them, and we provide them with land. This is a very unique opportunity, and I don't think many countries do that, but we do that, and we have government land parcels where we settle refugees. But also, in addition to that, there are also private landowners who have set aside land to settle these people of concern. So that is in itself a unique way of treating and hosting refugees in this part of the world. After settling them, of course, we encourage them to share services. Many of them share. Many school-going children who are refugees attend schools which were traditionally constructed and furnished and equipped by the government of Uganda in primary, secondary, and institutions of higher learning. And the other day I was telling our distinguished delegates that we have refugees in thousands in secondary schools and also in the universities, many of them acquiring diplomas and certificates, degrees, masters and PhDs. Even I know one or two who are undergoing postdoctoral certificates. So all this is being done to ensure that we don't discriminate. We treat them as human beings, as our brothers and sisters, and many of them, if not all, share health services, facilities that we Ugandans also go to. Sources of safe water, the same. Community assets like forests though they are being degraded, but also we share these facilities, these assets with them. And also we encourage them to open up businesses, and 5% of these people of concern are in urban areas, fending for themselves. They have moved away from rural areas to urban areas, and they are benefiting and engaging in businesses. As a matter of fact, I know 1 or 2 refugees who are employers of some Ugandans. They have very huge businesses, they are entrepreneurs, and all this is because of the open door policy of Uganda's refugee response, where refugees are encouraged to explore the opportunities of survival within the country.
Commissioner, that's quite a bit about the refugees. We've had stories that sometimes the IDPs feel that the refugees are given a certain kind of treatment, that they would rather register as refugees to be able to get or share some of the resources that the people from outside the countries are getting. What is it like for a refugee in Uganda? I mean, for an IDP?
Well, that assertion and notion has been existing among the public domain, that refugees are living a better life than the locals. But we commissioned a study by a certain organization, and also the World Bank a couple of weeks ago also published the findings of a study, and as far as whether it is true that refugees are living a better life than locals within the refugee hosting areas. Most important, one of the most interesting findings of this study is that, on the contrary, host communities live a better life than refugees. By and large, they live a better life than refugees. So it's not true. It's not true that refugees live a better life than the hosting than the host communities.
Professor Chaloka, I will turn to you now to just share with us the last 10 years. What have been the achievements of the convention?
Thank you very much, Moderator, Excellency, Commissioner for Political Affairs, the Honorable Ministers, and distinguished ambassadors and delegates. Oddly enough, the call to start formulating the Kampala Convention was made, I think I was in Kampala at the time, so Kampala has a whole range of coincidences. But the Kampala Convention was supposed to be a comprehensive framework for Africa to deal with internal displacement. I respond first of all to the issue of not so many states having signatures to the Kampala Convention or having signed it. This is a point of information that when it was adopted, only those states that had full signature were allowed to append their signatures to the convention. So that meant heads of states or ministers of foreign affairs. Other states had sent delegations involving ministers of home affairs or refugees. Those were not allowed to append their signatures because they didn't have full powers from the point of view of the African Union. So that's a point of information. From the very start, that was the beginning of it. In terms of ratification,
Yes.
Yes, we have 30 states that have ratified the convention, but I have to say that there has to be a great deal of advocacy. After the convention was adopted, my mandate undertook missions to SADC, to West Africa, ECOWAS, to East Africa, the International Parliamentary Union, to urge states to ratify the Kampala Convention. And when you engage with states, it's not that they're unwilling, but sometimes it just doesn't occur. You have to look at who in the ministry is dealing with this and speak to them. After that, who in the cabinet will then take the memo of ratification. We're doing this at the moment in relation to Ethiopia. South Sudan went through that process. I guided them fairly well. So it shows that there must be consistent engagement. Beyond implementation, the Kampala Convention was formulated in order to be operationalized. It's not a document for lawyers or attorney general's officers in their chambers. It is meant for field officers in the field who deal with displacement and look at the convention and say, which stage of displacement is this? Is it arbitrary displacement? can we prevent it? Is it protection during displacement? Or is it the phase of durable solutions? For that, we had to have a mixture of lawyers and a mixture of field officers from member states. And recently in Ethiopia, when Ethiopia called for the ratification of the Kampala Convention and had a workshop for field officers immediately said, we recognize and identify with the Kampala Convention. If we had this, it would have helped us. But if you're dealing with bureaucrats in the ministries of legal affairs and elsewhere, the questions would be, well, what does this phrase mean? How do I domesticate this? So the actual input of the Kampala Convention is beyond domestication, beyond implementation. It's about operationalization. You then look at the state of displacement and what have states done. There are a number of states that have applied the Kampala Convention. For a start, I made some comparative assessments during the time when I was Special Rapporteur. And I discovered that in this context, states actually learn a lot more from each other than from experts. So Zambia had drafted policy guidelines on the implementation of the Kampala Convention. It was a cabinet decision, they still have guidelines. They had a disaster management act. I came to Uganda. I found that Uganda did have their regional refugee policy that they were trying to revise in the light of the Kampala Convention. But they're also trying to integrate this in relation to disaster management. Now, the two states were not speaking to each other. And I had to say, look, but if you spoke to your colleagues here and there, you might find that this is what is actually happening. And then ECOWAS has the greatest potential, because what ECOWAS needs to do is to adopt the Kampala Convention as part of the law of ECOWAS, and then it applies throughout the ECOWAS region. And this has been part of the effort to get that moving. But DRC, as we speak, have a policy. The Central African Republic are moving towards a policy on IDPs. South Sudan have some legislative measures. And inasmuch I understand what my brother actually says. And I went to South Sudan just before the conflict broke out. And I had 3 missions there. And I can identify with what he says about women. When I spoke to the women, they said, look, this was in Jonglei, Bo, Pibo. And they said, if our husbands or sons go out to try and get food, they'll be killed. We, the women, have to sacrifice. We know there will be a measure of sexual violence against us, including rape. We take the risks. But they're not going to kill us. So we'll come back and feed our families. That is the nature of the resilience that you find amongst women. So as we look forward over the past 10 years, what we should be looking at more is how we operationalize the Kampala Convention, how we make it relevant for the field officers, and how IDPs connect to the Kampala Convention. There's a huge gap between the IDPs and the framework itself, and largely because the effort, as I say, it has been through ministries of legal affairs, attorney general's chambers to try and implement the Kampala Convention. But it requires radical, different methods of operationalization in the field.
I think that speaks a little to what Tech had brought up at the beginning. You touched a bit on the question of why other countries have not ratified, and I'd wanted to pose that question to Commissioner Minata. It seems like such a common sense initiative. Why do we have 34 out of 54 countries, 30 out of 54 countries that haven't ratified?
Merci, modérateur, mais lorsque vous dites qu'est-ce qui se passe par rapport aux autres, les États membres se reconnaissent, ceux qui n'ont pas, les 25 qui n'ont pas encore ratifié, certains sont dans la salle. Je pense, Madame la modératrice, et ces pays peuvent répondre, parce que pour nous, la pertinence de la convention n'est même pas à démontrer. C'est une convention unique, on doit, et non seulement, comme l'a dit M. Chaloka, il faut non seulement signer, ratifier et aller même au-delà. Il faut s'en approprier et je vais plutôt répondre d'une autre manière à votre question. Lorsque vous dites qu'est-ce qui se passe pour les autres, moi je veux plutôt dire qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire pour amener les 25 autres. Et je profite pour dire aux États membres, je souhaite, peut-être c'est déjà tard, on est en décembre, on va terminer le thème de l'année. C'est un appel, un cri de cœur de femmes, au-delà de commissaires, de femmes. Lorsque j'écoute Tech et lorsque j'écoute Chaloka, comment une femme va se sacrifier, tu sais que en sortant, tu peux être victime de violence, tu peux être violé, tu peux être tué, pas tué, mais tu te sacrifies pour ta famille, ta communauté. Ça donne la chair aux poules, la chair de poule. Je profite ce cri de cœur et en écoutant Chaloka pour lancer un appel aux États membres. Au-delà des aspects juridiques, c'est une convention qui donne beaucoup plus d'humanité, de dignité à l'homme, à la femme, aux filles et aux enfants. Lancer un appel et nous allons travailler. Nous allons y travailler. Je prends l'engagement de continuer en lien bien sûr avec le thème de l'année prochaine qui consiste à faire taire les armes à l'horizon 2020. S'il n'y a plus d'armes qui crépitent, on aura moins de réfugiés, on aura moins de personnes déplacées et peut-être des États hésitent, ceux qui sont en conflit, à ratifier parce que par la peur de se voir condamnés, parce qu'il y a des obligations des États partis et les gens, ils veulent bien, les États veulent bien la convention, mais les obligations liées à cette convention, ils n'en veulent pas. Ça ne peut pas arriver qu'aux autres, ça peut arriver à tous les États membres. Je profite vraiment pour lancer un appel. Je ne vais pas citer les noms, moi j'ai la liste, mais pour dire vraiment, allons à cette convention, ratifions-la. C'est pas pour uniquement les personnes déplacées, c'est pour nous-mêmes, parce que demain on peut être dans cette situation. Merci.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. You spoke about humanity and dignity, and I'll just pose this question to you as well. We know that there are refugees, for example, in Uganda, and they're in settlements already. But there are other African countries where the refugees continue to live in camps, and this goes on over and over a long period. And we know what that does to somebody's dignity and also, well, when you point at humanity. So I wanted us to have a conversation about the implications of this and what are we doing about it.
Merci beaucoup. Lorsque j'ai écouté mon frère commissaire, je me surprends à rêver que tous les pays africains fassent comme l'Ouganda pour plus de dignité. Quelle dignité a une femme lorsque tu te retrouves, tu n'as pas d'ustensiles de cuisine, tu n'as même pas le minimum pour faire face à tes besoins élémentaires. Où est ta dignité? Pour nous femmes, une femme qui est violée, où est ta dignité dans cela? Et tu es marqué à vie. Je lisais quelque part la nuit où une réfugiée dit « j'ai perdu tous mes parents, je m'occupe de ma tante qui a été violée par plusieurs personnes. Elle est devenue folle. » Et où est la dignité? Il faut qu'on travaille justement à instaurer cette dignité, à faire comme l'Ouganda. Je n'ai pas eu la chance, mais j'aurai l'occasion parce que nous allons revenir de visiter le site. On dit bien site de réfugiés, mais pas de camp de réfugiés. En gardant les gens dans les camps, je pense qu'il y a une exclusion. C'est mon point de vue personnel. Il y a une exclusion. Vous vivez dans un camp, vous sortez. J'ai visité des camps où des gens ont fait 30 ans, 40 ans dans un camp. Qu'est-ce que vous avez comme dignité? Vous travaillez vous naissez dans ce camp, vous grandissez dans ce camp, vous vous retrouvez adulte dans ce camp. Non, ça ne peut pas continuer. Il faut qu'on travaille tous à instaurer cette dignité en aidant son prochain. Et nous allons travailler pour pousser les États membres à éviter les camps de réfugiés, à associer. Ce sont des gens, des frères et des sœurs qui peuvent contribuer au développement de leur pays d'accueil. Et l'exemple de l'Ouganda encore est là. Il y a une dame qui a une activité qui emploie aussi d'autres personnes. C'est une manière aussi d'aider à trouver cette dignité, cette humanité. On est devenu, il n'y a même plus une crainte de Dieu, parce que si vous craignez Dieu, vous n'allez pas faire certaines choses à votre prochain. Je profite aussi pour un peu écorner les associations qui sont avec nous, les ONG aussi et les agences humanitaires qui font un travail fantastique, même dans les camps de réfugiés. C'est déjà quelque chose de les accueillir, même si c'est dans un camp, c'est pas souhaitable, mais c'est déjà quelque chose, et ces associations et ces ONG aident à instaurer cette humanité, à donner cet espoir à leurs prochains. Merci beaucoup.
I certainly hope you'll not leave Uganda before visiting the settlements, as you've expressed interest in doing so. You used the example of Uganda, and I know we get a lot of praise for the good job that we are doing with the refugees and the IDPs, but I wanted us to look at the issue of corruption. For those of you who are here, when 2 days ago the president walked for corruption, I'm sure you either saw that on the news or you even heard about it. But we've also heard before that how money meant for refugees and IDPs was put in somebody's pocket. And this is a problem that we need to have a conversation about. Is it something we should continue to worry about if this money is seen as one individual's cash flow, a get-rich-quick scheme? How are we making sure that these things are not happening anymore?
Last question for me.
Of course.
Well, moderator, thank you very much. This is an interesting question. And for the last 2 years, we have been faced and asked this over and over again. Ladies and gentlemen, it is true. There were allegations of misappropriation of financial and non-financial resources for the refugee response in the country. And the whistleblower brought out a series of issues, and which also rubbed us the wrong way. The government of the Republic of Uganda, in its wisdom, instituted an investigation into the allegations, and the competent authorities were asked to deepen the investigation and come up with who was responsible, where, and how much. Police was requested to do that. The Criminal Investigation Department, IGG, the Office of the Auditor General, to mention but a few, swung into action into the investigations. And the findings are that some officials who were found wanting were